We're going to give candidates 2 minutes, and then once we get to the questions, 90 seconds, just so we can keep this thing going. Lucian, guys, is going to raise his hand at 15 seconds. So, Lucian, raise your hand. Lucian will raise his hand at 15 seconds, and then he'll say time. And if after he says time, and you're still going, then I'll say time, and then hopefully we'll move on. Okay. And I think with that, we're ready to go. So we will start with Mr. Godwin for his opening statement.
Thank you, Jim, and thanks to all of you, our neighbors and friends across the city of Gary who are here to be with us today. I'm William Godwin, and I'm running to be the next First District councilperson. I'm running for 3 main reasons. I think that too often our councilpersons have not focused on being legislators from day one. Centrally, the role is to produce legislation and to review and revise existing legislation to improve the quality of life for our citizens. It's not just enough to do that during election time, but you have to roll your sleeves on day one and look for opportunities to improve the quality of life. Number 2, as a council person, we all represent very diverse districts. In my case, it's Miller, but also Etna, Glen Ryan, and Emerson. We should have meetings in all areas of our districts, and we should ensure that we are being inclusive of all concerns that are relevant across the diversity of our districts. And thirdly, the councilperson must be collaborative across the city. The councilperson is 1 of 9 people. It takes 5 people to get any legislation passed. That means you have to build relationships, not just in your district, but across the city. I believe as a realtor, I hear every day the concerns of residents who are leaving and the aspirations of residents who are coming. So I have my ear to the ground in terms of the concerns of our constituency. As an attorney, I understand how to review and read legislation, and how to suggest good and sound public policy. And as a small business owner, I understand the math, how to ensure that your revenue is greater than your cost. And we know that the number 1 problem for our city is fiscal responsibility. So we will be focused sharply on improving our fiscal situation through the legislative process. I'm William Godwin, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
One thing I did forget before Ms. Wyatt begins, if each, I'll give William 10 extra seconds next time. If everybody could remember, just because we're also live streaming this online, to please say your name and district before each question. For people who are watching online, it's hard for them to see the little name tags here.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Wyatt, and I am your First District Councilwoman. I want to thank you, first of all, for being out here, because it shows that you think this is important, you're part of the political process, and you're involved in the community and the city. My slogan is Wyatt Work, and that's not just because it's catchy, but it's because I really do work. I go to all of the council meetings, I go to all of the committee meetings, I hold First District community meetings once a month at Marquette Park Pavilion. I attend the neighborhood meetings in the different neighborhoods at the Manor Restoration Program, the Glen Ryan Neighborhood Association, the MCC, the Miller Business Association. So I get involved in the whole First District. I have promised you from this stage in 2015 that I would make sure that the old Tittles building on Route 20 was demolished. Some of you know it as the paintball facility, and that was done. I also promised that we would make sure that we got Lakewood, a bus route, city bus route, repaved. That was done. In my ordinances, I've recently sponsored, and it's been passed, an accessibility ordinance, so all of the disabled community can participate in the local government. And we already have the closed captioning on the council meetings as a result of that. I also work with others, and we're the biggest development that we have here in the first district is the double tracking. And before I was even a councilwoman, I have been active in this, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
You can just say your name.
David J. Rodriguez. District number 2. Bienvenido, David Grande Rodriguez. We can start learning a little bilingual here. I'm here as a new candidate. So the questions that you're going to ask are impossible for me to answer. But I know what I see in Gary. From 2003, I've been here from East Chicago. That doesn't look good. It looks horrible. Our children wake up in the morning and look at abandoned buildings. The schools that you guys went to is elementary, high school, junior high school. It's no good. The industries are bad. For over 30 to 40, 50 years. I'm here to wake up here. I am also the president. I'm a parade festival and think tank in Gary now. I'm going to bring businesses. I'm an international longshoreman for 41 years. We need our children to have jobs. If you're with that, first on the ballot, let me see your ears and your voice in bilingual to wake up the city, not just the second district, but the whole city. I'm real nervous right now. But the key thing is that let's work together, not every 4 years, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. I don't even want no paycheck. I don't. Why would I want a paycheck if there's nothing, how much work we gotta do? The counselor that's sitting there now, besides this young lady that beautified Marquette Park, I commend her, I honor her. She is a role model. That's where I want. That's where I'm going to be. With your folks, with your family folks, and through the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, you believe in the three. I'm here to work to clean up Gary. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me. My name is Cozy Weatherspoon. I'm a longtime resident of this community. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in this community attending Edison Junior High School and also attended Westside High School. I'm a graduate of Indiana University Northwest, and I have a degree in liberal arts. I also have certifications from Purdue University in occupational safety. I have worked in various Fortune 500 companies, including the United States Steel Corporation, ArcelorMittal Corporation, Avery Dennison Corporation. I have also served under 2 mayors. I served as the Director of Youth Services for a short period of time under the Honorable Louis Clay. I was also your first Director of General Services under Karen Freeman Wilson. Stayed with her for about a year and a half, until I went back into school. Now you may ask my reasons for running. All right? My reasons appear in something like this. Having grown up in this community, I remember this community in its heyday. We all played in these neighborhoods that we were so proud of, in these neighborhoods where neighbors cared about one another. In particular, myself, I remember Fifth Avenue as a thriving business district. There were businesses that ran from one end to the other. How many of you hung out at the A&W Group here, the Louvre, throughout the Gold Coast? Not only did they provide services, but they also provided jobs. All right? We look now, and this is all missing. This community has changed entirely. Now, as former Director of General Services, I believe I bring to the table an inside look on what's going on in the community. I understand the budget, I understand the finances, but at the same time, I also understand what the citizens are dealing with, because I had to service as Director of General Services. And I know how difficult it was with a short budget. I know how difficult it was with very little equipment. But I do bring a level of expertise to the table because I bring that from the manufacturing sector. Right? Again, I've been a manager for the United States Steel Corporation, a manager for Avery Dennison, and a manager for ArcelorMittal Corporation. So again, what I do believe I bring to the table is substance and know-how, a scientific managerial approach, to dealing with the issues in here. After all, it's not all about money. Just tell you something real quick.
Since it's now 6 o'clock, good afternoon to each and everybody here. My name is Kendra S. Johnson. I'm running for 4th District City Council person, and I've spent 20 years of my life advocating for not only my district, but for the city of Gary. I'm the mother of 6 children, 33, 28, 24, 21, 20, and my baby boy will be 16 in September. And one of those children is an Air Force cadet. I've been involved, I'm known for going to school board meetings, city council meetings, public housing authority meetings, and this year I went down to Indianapolis. Last year I went down to Indianapolis to voice to our state legislators about a bill that would take away the voice of the parents, that would go against federal law. I have always fought. I will continue to fight. I have fought for people that didn't like me, plotted against me, but guess what? When you represent people, you have to represent everybody, and you have to care about everybody. So, to the point that the Indiana Civil Rights Commission created an award, because, sorry, I get choked up every time I talk about that. They created an award to recognize the work that I have attempted to do in this city as a single mother who only wanted to have a better community for not just her children, but for the people in this city.
Cliff Caldwell, 5th District. A little bit about me. I am a lifelong Gary resident. Graduated from Westside High School in 2008. Graduated from, finished school at Vincent University in 2011. That same year, I joined the Indiana State Police. Stayed with the State Police for a couple of years, but I walked off that job in 2013 when I saw the spike in homicides that Gary was experiencing in 2013 with the gang violence out in, specifically in Glen Park and in the 5th District, 5th and 6th District. I joined the IUN police force. I was the first coordinator of the Community Engagement Division for IUN PD. The first thing I did when I got there, I noticed that IUN PD was kind of just sitting like a bump on the log while the city was pretty much burning and it's been going down because of gang violence. So I went to the chief and I said, can we put up a patrol zone? So now that's why you see IUN police go further out from the campus. So we did that patrol zone. We did it from 41st Avenue to 8094, from Martin Luther King all the way over to Grant Street. And what I instructed my patrolmen to do at that time was, we're not just patrolling, writing tickets, and jumping out and arresting people, but you are to engage the community when you are in those areas. And we started doing that. We did a park walk and talk. When you park that squad car, you get out, you walk and talk. We got so much information from the citizens. We also did Coffee with a Cop Citizens Academy. We started Neighborhood Watch program. And by 2015, we saw a 30% reduction in violent crime in the area surrounding the university, and enrollment went up. I'm running for 5th District City Council because in the 5th District, we have a unique opportunity with the Grant Street corridor, with Bridge Road, and with our Broadway corridor that runs through the 5th District to attract some businesses there. But first, we have to get a grip on our crime. We have to reduce crime, and when you reduce crime, businesses will come, you have people come here and build residences, and then we can start working on our school system. So my priority will be public safety, which I've already just explained to you that I pretty much know what needs to be done.
Good evening, Gary, Indiana.
Good evening.
I can't hear you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Gary, Indiana. My name is Jackie White, and I'm looking to be the next councilwoman in the 6th District. Just a tidbit about me. I'm a lifelong Gary resident, a graduate of Andrean High School, as well as Purdue University. Any Boilermakers in the room? By profession, I am an engineer. I design underground utilities for new residential subdivisions. I'm running for this seat because I'm looking to improve the quality of life for the residents within the 6th District and more importantly, the children within the 6th district. I am a mother of a 1-year-old son, and currently at this time, there is not one park with one swing that I can take him to in that community. And that is deplorable and that is terrible. So I'm looking to make a change. And that's low-hanging fruit for me. A little bit more about my professional side. I mentioned to you guys that I graduated from Purdue. My first job out of college was with NIPSCO. A year after NIPSCO, I moved to Canada, to Toronto, to work for PepsiCo at the time. So I lived abroad for many years. I came back home in 2015 and worked side by side with both Karen Freeman Wilson and Jerome Prince. They both heard that I was home and snatched me up really fast to work both at City of Gary, City Hall, as well as Lake County Government Center. So I have resources and contacts in both of those areas. When I came back, I was just shocked. Sorry, of my community, but I'm here to help.
All right, thank you very much, candidates, for your opening statements. We're now gonna go through some questions. I don't think I explained this before. I have several questions which I'll ask. If we have a little bit of time at the end, we'll also open it up to the audience for audience questions. So please, if you have any questions, be thinking of those as we're going along. And as I mentioned, we're going to go to 90 seconds for the questions to try and get as many of these in as possible. My first question is, what do you believe most qualifies you to hold the office of representing your district on the Gary City Council? As I mentioned, we're going to keep going down one person each time, so that's why we'll start this one.
What qualifies me to be the best councilwoman for the 1st district is because I am the councilwoman. I work hard and I keep my promises. I have integrity and I've worked in this community for 25 years. I've been a leader in different community organizations and with my church. I've always been involved in this community. And I make myself available to everyone, all of the constituents, so that you can approach me and ask questions, and I can take those back. I'm interested in including everyone in the city government. That's why there's the accessibility resolution. I just proposed, and it will be on the council's agenda on Tuesday, an amendment to the civil rights ordinance, which would include sexual orientation and gender identity. So the reason that I'm the best is because I want everyone to be at the table for 1st district government and local government. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's just a reminder to see your name.
Again, David Rodriguez, 2nd district. To be the next candidate, it's a challenge because, like I said, I'm here to bring jobs, to create jobs, to create more activity for our young, things for our senior citizens. And it's going to be a while because we want to put a port in Gary. So that's another 4 or 5 years. The key thing is that the parade that I got involved with, I see every day now that I wake up in Gary, in 2003. I'm never disappointed. I wake up to abandoned buildings, schools that I just heard that people went to. They're still up. I call them state. I blame the state. Those are state buildings. These homes, we blame the city. We need to knock them down. We need to bring new direction to Gary, Indiana. Gary is a beautiful city, if you can remember this. As I was a kid coming from East Chicago visiting, Gary, biggest city in the state of Indiana, beautiful city in the world. So let's bring that back. That's why I want to be council. I'm a federal inspector for heavy equipment with the Port of Indiana, the ports on the Gulf, the Caribbean, the Atlantic Treasure. And we are gonna bring you jobs. Win or lose, you're not gonna get rid of me. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna sit there and talk. What qualifies me to be councilman in the second district here? First and foremost, I'm qualified because I'm a citizen. I'm a longtime citizen. I'm qualified because I have an invested interest in this community. I own 2 homes in this community. I'm qualified because through the good as well as the bad, I've been here. Right? And I'm not going anywhere. This is where I cast my bucket down, and this is it. Okay, so what my objective and goal is at this point in time is using my expertise, using the things that I've learned, the tools that I have gained while working in manufacturing, bringing that here to this city. I worked as your director of general services, and I don't know if many of you remember, during that time period, I had a great deal of success for the year and less than a half that I worked for the administration. I dealt with microbursts during that time period where trees were everywhere, trees were on cars, trees were on homes, sidewalks were uprooted. You know what? The microburst that hit the west side, jumped to Glen Park, kept pulling up things along its way. I also had to deal with major snowstorms. My crew, during that time period, removed 98% of the snow from the streets of this city within 28 hours after the snow had fallen. There's a councilman right there that will attest to that. Right? So I bring a level of organizational skills and management to the table in dealing with this task. I'm not one to believe in my manufacturing background, you know, in getting the job done. I couldn't sit in the office. I couldn't sit there and just see, you know, and figure out what was going on the floor. Guess what was going on the floor.
What qualifies me to be on the city council? Taxpayers' money paid for me to receive resident organization training through HUD when I became president of the Dory Mill Lieutenant Council in 2001. And I'm still working with public housing. No paycheck. Taxpayers' dollars paid for me to be trained in federal law when it came to education. No paycheck. I'm still working. I've also attended city council meetings since 2002. I've observed, I've fought, I've studied the laws, the ordinances. When I didn't agree and others came to me and told me they didn't agree, I went and I voiced their feelings. Many times I've taken stands and it's cost me. My house was firebombed. My children were attacked by gang members because I wouldn't let them get involved in gangs, and I took a stand. I can talk about all the bad things that have happened to me, but when you're committed to community, like I have been for these 25 years, then you look at the people that are coming behind you, and you look at the people that are here now. And that's who you work with. Some of the city council members that are in office now, they'll tell you, I've gone to them when the cameras weren't on and told them how I felt, and also told them how people have felt. I've even passed a petition to Gary Public Transit to maintain the Marshalltown route.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Well, I'm most qualified to be the next 5th District Councilman. I'll just say that I actually understand what's keeping businesses and new residents from coming to the city. I see it on the front lines every day as a deputy sheriff of the Lake County Police Department. For example, in the 5th District, we have Menards, which is one of the largest retail stores in the city of Gary, located in the 5th District. The manager there said that they are looking to move and that they no longer want to work with the city of Gary. And the main reason is because when they get shoplifters there or anything happens, it takes a very long time for emergency services to arrive. Public safety. Get business here, keep business here. Public safety must become priority. It's one thing to be a council person or a citizen and you read the paper about something that happened or a crime that happens or a homicide. But when you're seeing these things every day as a police officer, you realize those things are really what's keeping people away from this community. We have to get a grip on public safety. When we do that, we will be able to get businesses here. Here in the first district, you guys just lost a business on Lake Street, California Crab Shack, because it kept getting burglarized. And the cash register kept getting raided. And he said, Cliff, all of my profit is going to repairing this and replacing this and restocking this. He said, my insurance provider wants to drop me because of all of the burglaries. So when we get a control on crime, we realize that we can't cut our police department from 210 officers to 180 officers and then still expect them to do the job of 210 officers. Those types of decisions is what keeps the city on the same track that it's on. We can do all the things that we want to do that we talk about. Nothing will come to fruition until we get a grip on public safety.
So Jackie White, 6th District Council person. What qualifies me for the position, I've already gone through my education and my resume. One thing that's important to me on this campaign trail is getting out and knocking on doors and meeting the residents firsthand. At this moment, I am the only candidate that is in the 6th District knocking on doors, getting to meet people. At this time, I am the only candidate that is showing up to these kinds of events and debates to get to know you, to give you more information about my platform, what I stand for, and more information about my candidacy. I'm the only candidate with a young, growing family, which gives me a reach and sentiment and understanding to the residents in the 6th District. I am the only candidate that has lived abroad for a significant amount of time and has returned back home to her community with vision and an abundance of ideas. I'm the only candidate that has worked in both the Lake County Government Center and Gary City Hall, and I have contacts in both of those buildings, and that makes me a candidate that will have expedient results for my residents. And I'm the only candidate that I mentioned earlier that I design underground utilities for a living. So when real infrastructure comes to the city of Gary, I'll be the only candidate that really understands the implementation and sustainability of that infrastructure. Thank you.
William Godwin, candidate for 1st District. As a first-year law student, I had colleagues in the hallway telling me about how great this community was that they had visited when campaigning for Barack Obama. I was inquisitive and so was nosy, and took a little drive out here and ended up buying the home that I now live in 11 years ago because I love this community. I love all that it offers, I love the people in it, and that's the number one qualification. You have to have a love for all the people in the district that you represent. I'm a graduate of Georgetown University, University of Chicago Law School, Chicago Theological Seminary, as well as a general certificate from the London School of Economics. I've been Associate Vice Chancellor of one of the largest community college systems in the world. I currently, locally, sit on the Gary Port Authority. I serve as the secretary of that board. So I know firsthand many of the major economic development initiatives that we have going on, starting with Buffington Harbor and the move of the casino, which will be tremendous in terms of developing an intermodal port terminal. So I understand the workings of the economic development apparatus of our city. As a realtor, I hear what drives people here. We know that increasing our population is absolutely essential to expand our doors. And in order to survive, we have to have people here.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. Okay, thank you, candidates, for that first round of responses. The next question that we have for everyone is, what will you do differently, or what new ideas to the city council during your tenure or the next term that have not been tried previously either? And we will start, I believe, with Mr. Rodriguez on this one. Just another reminder, several candidates did this, but for the people who are watching online, you could say your name.
That question.
Absolutely.
It's got to be a little confusing.
A lot of questions out
Can
there.
you hear me?
Yes.
What will you do differently, or what new ideas will you bring to the city council during your tenure or your term that have not been tried previously?
businesses down on Broadway. Bring back the little old city that once was in Junior. Because, you know, like I said, I'm not criticizing, but I can see what's going on. Our parks look like cemeteries. The buildings are, how are you gonna bring them in? People drive through Fifth Avenue, 80, 90, east, west. They go see the Jackson's house, see destruction. See, I'm here to, like I said, I'm here to win or lose. I'm still a winner. This is my new home. And I will bring in what I need to bring in through the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Because it's time. I mean, you know, realize as people, we must work together as Gary residents. To not ask what your Gary can do for you, ask what we can do for Gary as Gary residents. That's what I would do. Win or lose, I'm still a Gary resident. Just because I'm not a politician. I am a community individual with you. I wake up in the morning and I don't like what I see. I don't know how you guys can wake up to this. They say that they did this and that. When I was a kid and I still see the same destruction. I'm sorry to say that, but I'm speaking the truth. The truth hurts and the truth set us free. So work with me and I work with you. Let's bring Gary back to Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, when we look at this situation, you know, most people will ask the question, what is Gary's biggest problem? It's crime. You know, the filth, the greed that's around the community, the unemployment. My opinion is Gary's biggest issue is around quality of life. Because when you talk about quality of life, it encompasses all these areas. Now, for me, what I plan to do and what I plan to bring to the table is something that's very simple that's never been tried. I have a few points in my platform. First and foremost, the first thing is creation of an infrastructure master plan. All right, without your infrastructure first, what do you have? You have nothing. All right, we need to see a master plan. It's going to go into effect as it relates to simple things such as park maintenance, simple things such as paving, simple things such as road repair, debris, picking up, cleaning up neighborhoods. There has to be an infrastructure master plan. Having worked in general services, I understand how that would work, and I understand how effective general services, as few people as they have, will be able to accomplish, how they will be able to accomplish their mission by having a master plan. Going hand in hand with that, there has to also be advocacy for things such as real code enforcement. Because the reality is, we can clean up the city all we want, but if we can't sustain it, it means absolutely nothing. There is only one way to sustain it. You have to enforce, you have to punish, you have to arrest in some cases. You know, you're not going to see people going across the city limits to Hammond, dropping a piece of paper out their car. It just doesn't happen. But in Gary, Indiana, no problem, no problem. So enforcement for the sake of sustainability, all the departments in the city have to work hand in hand. That is something else that is not going on. Each department is working as if they're their own. Thank you, Mr. President.
Kendra Johnson, 4th District. What will I do different? When I became president of Dory Miller, one of the things I tackled was what causes individuals to end up in public house. And I made a chart of all the different factors. Then what I did was I tried to figure out, how do you resolve these factors? You get a relationship with the police where residents may not trust them. You try and bring in employment. Well, one of the biggest things I would like to do that hasn't been done so much is I want to focus more on our young people and the mindset of our citizens. We need more communication out in our community. We need more communication in the city and in the district. How many can say what all the businesses are? How many can say how many churches there are in their district? There should be a resource book. When you call 311, they should be able to give you a list of just about everything there is in this city. Many times you do that, you don't get that answer. So that's one of the biggest things I would try to work on that has to be done. Making sure that there's a resource guide, and also setting up something like with the block clubs, meeting with each and every one of them and forming something like a team hearing in the 4th district.
Caldwell District. One of the things I would do is I would have town hall meetings with our small business owners and also town hall meetings with our residents. Right now, current council members and our current administration, they do have these forums, but when they have these forums, it's for specific things. Like right now, they're going from district to district with a comprehensive plan. I want to have a town hall open forum where we don't have agenda, we don't have any talking points, we just gonna come in there, we're gonna discuss some things, find out what's going on in the community. And from those opposing viewpoints, we can come to a solution. Because as some people running for re-election have said or made the notion that the citizens are the problem or that the citizens are complaining. I believe the citizens are a solution. I mean, if you look at any corporate boardroom in America, they purposely put people on those boards from opposing viewpoints because that's how they get the best answers and solutions. Even in baseball, a team full of righties will always lose to a team that has a few lefties because that's how you get things done with opposing viewpoints. Also, we have to tackle blight from a different angle because the biggest code violator in the city, number one is the city of Gary's biggest code violator with its property. Number two is the Gary Community School Corporation. If we don't make these two, who are supposed to be the biggest entities in the city, if we don't hold these two entities to the code of ordinances, how can we haul Ms. Johnson in the court because she has some debris behind her garage and tell her that she contributed to blight when the city has thousands of properties that are not maintained? The school corporation has hundreds of properties that are currently violating the code of ordinances of the city, and that's how we must tackle blight.
Yes, ma'am. The question was, what would you do differently, or what new ideas will you bring to the council during your term?
So it's not necessarily a new idea, but one of the things that's come up on this platform today was quality of life. And when I think of quality of life, I think of quality education for our children. And no matter what you think about Hammond or its mayor, one of the things that he has gotten right, in my opinion, is the college-bound program that is in place for the children there. I would implement or propose that with the new casino that is coming, the land-based casino, that money is earmarked and set aside for our children in the same way that Hammond does with its Horseshoe Casino with College Bound for their kids. Through that program, people like myself, when you have young kids, the first thing on your mind is, am I going to educate these kids? How am I going to send these kids to college? And what that College Bound program does is give you a sense of ease. And with that sense of ease comes paid property taxes, which is what Gary needs as well. I think it's a very simplistic idea, yet brilliant at the same time, and contributes beautifully to the quality of life for our babies. Thank you.
Thank you. William Godwin, 1st District. I have two ideas I want to propose. Again, focusing on the theme of being a legislator on day one and focusing on our finances. Number one, right now, if you want a general business license in the city of Gary, it's $100. Whether you're a 1, 2, 3 person small business or a major corporation, you're paying the same $100. That just doesn't add up in my mind. I think we need to demand a fair share from our larger business owners with a graduated schedule for business licensing fees. We can determine and be in conversation with our businesses about what that schedule should look like. Number two, I want to tackle the use of private advertising in public spaces. Many of you have seen the benches across our district here in First and the city with right advertising. Different businesses advertise with those benches, but they are not paying one dime to the city. How do I know? I ask the question. At every level of government, are we getting any kind of fee from right advertising? And we are not. That is unacceptable. There should be a revenue share agreement in place where we get a portion of those advertising fees, or there should be a permit per bench. That's how you can use the legislative role to tackle our city's dire financial condition. Thank you.
Rebecca Wyatt, First District, Councilwoman. I propose as one issue that would alleviate blight to deputize the employees of the city who are already in the scope of their employment going around the city. So in that way, we could increase the code enforcement. Those employees who are already going around the city, like building inspectors, health inspectors, police officers, fire people, they would have the authority to write citations. This would not increase the budget because we wouldn't have to hire anyone else, but it would allow for more eyes on the city. I would also suggest that we have that we cite people early on, rather than waiting till the problem is so bad that they can't afford to fix it. There are resources available to some of our poor residents who can't afford to make the repairs that they need to make. And if we cite those people earlier, we can work with them to find these resources to help them. And secondly, I would increase our unsafe building hearings. The unsafe building law that the city has is for demolition of unsafe buildings. We have quite a few of those. Since I've been in office, the city had one hearing in December of 2016, none in 2017, and one in 18. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Next question, and we'll start with Mr. Weatherspoon on this one. Next question is, how will you work with other levels of government? So for instance, such as school boards, township government, the county, state officials, federal officials. How will you work with other levels of government during your tenure as councilperson?
I believe it's essential and absolutely necessary that we work with various branches of government throughout the city, throughout the state, throughout the county, and throughout the country. Right here in the city of Gary, we seem to have a difficult time alone working with the other business entities right here in the city, of Gary Community School Corporation. All right. Stated earlier, you know, two of the biggest landowners in the city of Gary are, number one, the Gary Community School Corporation and the city of Gary. We do not see the corporation so far as the usage of the massive amounts of land. Many of you, like myself, have abandoned schools that are sitting in our community, abandoned schools that are havens for crime. All right. So first and foremost, that's where it starts. It starts at that level, but then it goes beyond that to the association and relationship with the county. Because not having the necessary resources, we are dependent upon them for backup as it relates to the county police. I was dependent upon them as it related to infrastructure, as it related to the city for certain parts of snow removal. I was also very responsible. It was also my responsibility to coordinate with other entities within the city, such as the airport, GSD, to handle our infrastructure needs. You all see that now. Sometimes you see the street sweepers out. Gary doesn't have any street sweepers, but GSD does. So that relationship has to be continued, but it has to be expanded as well. That relationship has to be expanded as well, because we have to get a better relationship with the state, even though they have a supermajority. Somehow, we have to appeal for their help. It has to be cooperative.
Would you repeat the question again, please?
Yes, ma'am. How will you work with other levels of government, such as school boards, township government, the county, state, federal officers during your time as councilperson?
Kendra Johnson, 4th District. One of the things I did when I became president of Gary Miller was I tried to establish a relationship with police officers. Public safety is highly important. After going through a fire and losing my grandson, I developed a relationship with the firemen, because here I was trying to save a child and didn't have equipment to save that child. And yet still, this is what our firefighters go through every day, our EMP people. So that was one of the things I did. With the people that are on, like I said, I'm known for going to school board meetings, city council meetings, public housing authority. When I would go to the bus company meetings, I rode the buses. I still like the buses. And I go to those meetings every month and I take to them what people say. If they give me a petition, I take it. When it comes to school board, like I said, last year I did something I had not done before. I sold candy in order to get a Greyhound bus ticket to go down and fight what the 1315 concerning changing the school board. Because I hear it all the time. We don't hear from the parents in Gary. So I went down there. I didn't wait for the NAACP. I went. By the time the NAACP and the other entities got there, it was too late. So that's one of the things I would do. I would continue doing now what I've already done in the past.
Cliff Caldwell, Fifth District. I definitely think that you definitely have to have those relationships between school system, county government, state government. But right now, what you see in Gary and Lake County is everything is so politicized, nobody wants to work together. Because you didn't support me in this thing, or I didn't support you, I didn't think you should be elected, especially when we had an elected school board. For example, you have a 6th district elected school board member and a 6th district council member. We work with our school district. But what you had was, well, I didn't support you for the school board, so I'm not going to work with you or communicate with you at all. We have to remove the politics from so much stuff that is affecting the city. We don't want to work with certain county officials because they weren't part of our clique or they weren't part of this clique. That is the main problem in Gary right now, why we can't work with anybody. We don't want to reach out to downstate because they are Republicans and this and that and the other. You still have to go down there and you still have to come to a middle place. Those opposing viewpoints, you have to find some common ground there in the middle to get things done for your community. So I definitely look forward to getting on the city council and meeting with the emergency manager and setting up some type of thing where we can meet with the remaining school board members to figure out what we're going to do with these dilapidated structures that the school corporation is holding on to. And also like to reach out to our 2 elected county representatives on the county council and see what can the county do to assist us with some of this demolition, assist us with some getting more county police in Gary. I don't care who the sheriff is. I don't care who the commissioner is. I have to work with them. We have to work with people.
Right.
Jackie White, 6th District, and I wholeheartedly echo what Cliff just said, and I was gonna go totally in that route, so I won't repeat it because I couldn't say it any better than that. Just in addition to what he said, I would just like to see more transparency from the school board as it relates to our children. And that's all that I have. Like, I couldn't have said it better. Thank you.
Thank you, William Godwin, First District. 2 main points that I want to make. Number one, the Gary Community School Corporation has to do a far better job of taking care of their closed schools. I've seen kids run in and out of at the elementary school. We know how terrible Nobel looks, and we know how dark work has become. We have got to hold our state legislators to the fire, since we know there is a state-led emergency manager in charge of those schools, to ensure that they are holding up their end of the bargain for our local schools, which hurt our property values, hurt our quality of life, and create a hazardous situation for all of us. Secondly, as your next First District council person, we will have a quarterly meeting with the whole team of elected officials who are from the First District. So our state legislators, our county council person, our county commissioner, and we're even blessed to have a U.S. congressman who lives in the First District. We need to bring all of those parties together to have a coordinated agenda at every level of government that makes sense for the local issues and concerns that matter most to all of us. And once a year, or at least twice ideally, we'll have a public opportunity for you to know what each of those individuals are doing on behalf of the issues that matter in the First District. Thank you.
Performance wise, we have a new candidate who joined us, Ms. Coleman, I believe, is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so after we're done with this round, we'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and talk a little bit, have it up to statement.
Rebecca Wyatt, First District Councilwoman. I have worked with the emergency manager. You know, we don't really, our school board doesn't have any authority at this point. So I had worked with the emergency manager on several issues. He will be at the First District Community Meeting on April 22nd. We've talked about the possibility of a dog park at Wood Emerson in the track area, at least temporarily. It would increase the traffic at Works and that way hopefully decrease any potential vandalism. They have put up lights at Works and they've secured the doors so people can't get in. But it is true that we need to work on with the school district and the emergency manager, and in fact, the state, since they're in charge, to make sure that they pay attention to the abandoned school buildings that are in our neighborhoods. The state has the responsibility, since they've decided to take over the school district, they can't just take over one part of it. They have the responsibility to take over all of it. Thank you.
Of course, to work with all our agencies, but the main one to work with, when I get in, is the community, the people at the home. What do you guys need? Your alleys, two streets? We need to get together. They automatically, they must work all together to bring back Gary. You go to other cities, everything is paved, state, city road. You drive down Gary, you look, wow, there. They're not doing nothing with it. I will work with you. I work for you guys. No matter if it's the second, the city, the county, the United States, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, I will work for you, the voter that says you allow me to be your ears. Tu voz es tu voto. Your voice is your vote. That's all I ask for. And then even afterwards, if I lose, that's fine. I still stay with the same plan. To work with the incumbents, the ones at the mayor, council at large, district, school district, representative, so from downstate, they give us back our money that's right here. But they get to have it first. Then they give it back to us. So I will work for a working man and a working woman that lives in Gary, Indiana, Lake County, the biggest city. Here we go. I'm gonna brag again.
That's right.
All right, it was. Mr. Weatherspoon?
I think we're going to get started with this, hold in just 90 seconds. Yes, whatever.
Good afternoon, I'm Attorney Tracy Combs, and thank you for hosting this forum. I was born and raised in Gary. I'm a 1989 graduate of Roosevelt High School. I've been practicing law over 21 years now. I can't believe how fast it went by. I'm an advocate for the community. When certain issues came up, say for instance, when they were going to close Gary's only license bureau, I took that case pro bono and filed a lawsuit against the government on behalf of plaintiffs in this community who were upset. And so that's just the kind of person I am. To me, it's about action. There are a lot of needs in Gary. And we're at the point where we need leaders who are willing to do the heavy lifting. As third district council person, I will do the heavy lifting. I'm concerned about the street, alleys. I've advocated we need a 10-year paving plan that looks at the whole city. And so I want to thank everyone who came tonight and also those who are tuning in on Facebook. We have a great community, but we just have a lot of work to do. And as an attorney, I'm not afraid of work. I was also a former park ranger, so it's also nice to be out here in Miller. So I just have so many different aspects that I could bring to the table as third district councilwoman. Thank you so much.
All right, very good. The next question that I have for everybody is, what do you believe the biggest economic development challenges or priorities should be for the city of Gary, and what will you do to support economic development in your district? And Ms. Coleman, I don't need to put you on the spot again, but I think you're first up on this.
No worries at all. I'm fine. I think our greatest economic challenge is investing in people. Because we know there's a gentrification model, that if I just bring in people with money, that will solve all the issues. But I believe our challenge in Gary is to recognize, look at the people who stay here, but the people who are struggling, but the people who need the economic opportunity. Because if you look at the suburbs, they're just, in my opinion, they're cookie cutters. You may see different restaurants, but those are franchises. We have people in this community that can run those same businesses, a Cracker Barrel, a Red Lobster, but then it becomes people are shut out economically. So as third district council person, I want to see a model in Gary where we can encourage home ownership. And that's part of the American dream. And if you look at a lot of our old city plans, the model is based on poverty. And I don't think we should be satisfied with a city that our whole model of success is poverty. We have abandoned property. If we see an abandoned property, we should see a family. And so as third district council person, I'm concerned that people are not shut out of that American dream, that when they put me in that third district council seat, they know somebody, they have somebody who's concerned about them, their family, their children, their grandparents, and who will do all that I can to make sure that the American dream isn't just for a few people, but for everybody.
Thank you. You can hand it to
Repeat the question again, please.
Absolutely. What do you believe the biggest economic development challenges or priorities are there facing the city, and what can you do to support economic development in your community?
One of the big, Kendra Johnson, fourth district, one of the biggest things that happened was when U.S. Steel ran into a recession. This city has been one industry town quite some time. At one time, it was U.S. Steel that provided the employment. Then it was the casinos. Then it was the school corporation. We could start investing in small businesses. Walmart was once a small business. Kroger's. All these different places were once, Amazon, were once small businesses. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to invest in that. And we need to start with young people. You know, living in public housing, I've seen the street pharmacists. You all call them drug dealers. But guess what? Those street pharmacists know how much drugs they have, how to separate them, how much money they're supposed to have, how much per person. That sounds like a business, doesn't it? So if they can learn to do that, why can't we train them and others how to have legitimate business? The city has offered a free entrepreneurship program, and I went through it. Sometimes you have to go through more than that, but that's my biggest thing. We need to concentrate on small business.
Cliff Caldwell, 5th District. Other than public safety, which keeps a lot of businesses from wanting to locate here, especially large corporations, the next biggest thing is we have to eliminate a lot of the red tape that the city of Gary has. My family owns approximately 100-something rental properties in the city of Gary. We keep them up, they're well-maintained, they are up to code. But what you have to do every year, you have to get a rental, a sticker they give you for your rental property. You have to pay a fee. But when you go in there, you go upstairs, you fill out a form, then you gotta go downstairs and pay a lady, then you gotta go upstairs and show the lady the receipt, then you gotta go back downstairs and get the sticker. That's just one thing. But talk about big corporations that wanna come here, all of them, they gotta go to this meeting, that meeting, this committee meeting, then they gotta go first reading, second reading, third reading. You know, in other communities, we have a property in Lake Station, we walk right in, got the building permit from one desk, walk back out 15 minutes. That's the biggest thing we have to overcome with businesses that want to come here. Economic development. We got to get rid of the red tape. But like I said, the other thing that's keeping business away is, of course, crime. I mean, Walmart's not going to build a $6 million store here if you can't guarantee it's not going to get robbed. And if it catches on fire, they want to make sure the fire department gets there at a good time. So that's some of the things we got to overcome.
You guys still awake out there?
Yes.
Very good. The greatest economic challenge from my point of view is asking companies like Walmart and Amazon to come and invest in Gary on top of crumbling infrastructure, on top of collapsing sewer mains, on top of 100-year-old gas mains. So I'm proud to say that at the moment, currently, the city of Gary is in partnership with NIPSCO. Robert, you know, they're digging up all of the old gas mains and replacing them with new ones. The Gary Sanitary District is in partnership as well, and the city is getting new sewer mains as well. And Indiana American Water is currently in the 6th district as we speak, removing lead from the water mains, the lead pipes from the water mains that go directly into the homes. So to me, that is the biggest economic challenge, to ask those big companies to come to our city and to bring those big, bright, shiny new businesses on top of crumbling infrastructure. So I'll make it my business to see those projects through as far as infrastructure, redoing the infrastructure in the 6th district. I'll make sure that I see that through. Thank you.
And as I give it to Mr. Godwin, next round, we'll mix it up a little bit. So if anybody has an audience question after we done this round, we'll go to that.
Thank you, William Godwin, First District. Number one, we have to improve our reputation nationally and regionally. And number two, we have to learn how to properly market the opportunity to live, work, play, and invest in this community. But thirdly, I want to talk about an issue that recently happened in the city council. T&B Tubing is a local business in the First District that wanted to get a second round of property tax abatements. President Brewer of the council had the wise and intuitive gesture to require that their next 10 employees be Gary residents. One councilperson questioned whether people in Gary were qualified for these jobs, whether there was skills here, whether the people were trainable. That councilperson is the incumbent of the First District. I was totally disrespected as a resident of this city, and I was totally disheartened that a councilperson who receives a check from this city would question whether a business was getting a multi-million-dollar property tax abatement should hire local residents, when we know how badly we need more residents living here and how badly we need to improve our property tax base. It was totally unacceptable, and if that's what you want, keep the status quo.
Yes, keep the status quo. Well, actually, because what my opponents failed to recognize is that I didn't say that there were not qualified residents. What I said is I voted no on it because we want to attract businesses. We want economic development. The same kind of red tape that they talked about at the other end of the table, if you get to the last minute, the last meeting before the council, and the council changes the rules and makes another condition that you have to follow, that is not good government. That does not encourage or attract businesses. We need to say, if we had said up front, you need to make the next 10 employees Gary residents, that would have been fine. But we didn't say that. It didn't come up at committee. It didn't come up until the very last minute. That is not the way to do business. That's not the way to attract business. And in addition, my opponent wasn't privy to the information that the council had at its fingertips that showed that TNB2 had hired 45 Gary residents as employees in the time that it's been here. They have 16 remaining. Thanks.
The question was about bringing in businesses. Like I said, I am an international officer for Indiana since 1977. We want to bring a port in. We want to bring in Port of Gary. And then how can other businesses come in and look at what I'm looking at? 2003. Who's bringing a business right now? I'm going to bring in 2 more businesses for profit. My first one right now is the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico's Parade Festival and Queen Magic in Gary and in Atlanta. So that's going to help out the college kids for scholarship. Community hours when you go to college. Now the next one is a training school. We are in industrial county. Why do our kids have to go to Pennsylvania, Ohio, when I can train to operate a forklift and a crane? What do we have in the mills? You can start off sweeping a broom, in the mill, and you move up. It's called apprenticeship. Just like a politician. I'm new to this, but in 4 years, I will be true to this. I will to you guys. If you allow me to work for you guys, Gary is going to be back on the map and say, because one individual said, I don't need Gary no more. But we love Gary and Gary still need us.
Gary's greatest economic challenges. You know, we can sit here and say we're going to pinpoint this issue, pinpoint that issue, but the truth of the matter is this is a lot of problems. You know, crime, infrastructure, the gamut goes on and on and on. Heck, even, you know, residents that are able to pass drug tests. I mean, this is a part of the problem as well. But just simply from the standpoint of what I would do as a councilman, I believe that it's important also that as a councilman, that we get out of that office, that we leave City Hall, that we just don't attend council meetings, we just don't attend committee meetings. We have to get out into the community. I spoke earlier about being a manager. I couldn't sit in the office and manage at any facility that I've worked. You can't just simply go to council meetings. You have to get out and lobby. You have to lobby businesses to come into this community. One of the greatest assets that we have is land. The school corporation has land. The city has land. We have massive amounts of land. We have to partnership with the school system, find, you know, uses for that land, barter that land to bring businesses within this community. Also, you have to work with the entities within the city, the redevelopment commission, small business administration, the planning board. There are a variety of internals that you have to pull together. Again, we have a situation, as I stated earlier, where in a lot of cases, the city departments are not working together.
Thanks. All right, let's change it up a little bit. If there are audience questions, I'd love to take one now. I've got a couple more questions, but we're doing okay on time, so let's take an audience question or two. I'll take the first hand, and then I'm going to repeat the question too. So, go ahead.
Hi, Dave Gehrman, Gary resident. We've lost one of the greatest assets. From 1980 to present, we've lost over a third of our populace. Those were taxpayers. We had all of our eggs in one basket with U.S. Steel that's self-assessed. I personally would love to be self-assessed. I'd like to self-assess my own property. Maybe you can look into that. But geographically and logistically, Gary's in a perfect situation with soon to be, hopefully, the port, rail, roads, and an airport. How would all of you utilize that to regain the populace that we need in the tax base for Gary? Thank you.
I will just summarize it briefly. I won't say it quite as well. But how will you use your position to help the city take advantage of some of those assets that Dave, right?
Yes.
Dave talked about roads, rail, the airport to help to stop population loss and improve population gain. And I think that Ms. Johnson is first up.
Kendra Johnson's fourth district. One of the big things I would do would be to gather people that have worked in this area, that are experts in the area, and then meet with people that have ideas. I don't know it all, won't pretend that I know it all. But as it was mentioned earlier, our residents are one of the biggest assets. And some people have talents, gifts, and education and information that you may not know about because they don't brag about it or it's not out there. So the biggest thing is, that's one of the things I would do. I would also consult with other council people from other cities, from other states, to see how they're doing. You know, many times we get an attitude because, quote unquote, outsiders come in. But my thing is, can we learn from the outsiders to help it work for us? Because that's the biggest thing. Learning knowledge, applying knowledge, and lastly, most importantly, communication, which is truly key. So that's what I would do in terms of trying to make use my position to take advantage of that.
Cliff Caldwell, Fifth District. That's a great question, but the reality is we lost our population when we had those things. We had the South Shore, we had the airport, we had the lakefront, people still left. So the thing is, people won't come back to this community until they feel that the quality of life of Gary is on the uptick. We saw hundreds of people move to this city and build houses almost 15 years ago, when the city said, well, we own all these plots of land, we'll sell it to you for $100 if you want to build a house, and we'll give you a tax abatement. Well, once that administration that offered that program left from out of office, the next administration discontinued that program. And what happened? People stopped coming to Gary. People stopped building houses in Gary. Now I hear they want to bring something like that back now. Those are the type of things that attract people. We can have all the rail lines and commuter lines, and we can have the greatest international airport, but people still won't come to this city and live. They'll pass the visit. They'll drive here from Dyer to get on the airplane to fly to Florida, but they won't live here until the quality of life changes, until crime goes down, until you can guarantee that garbage trucks can get down alleyways, until you can guarantee businesses won't leave because we get burglarized. Those are the things that will bring people here, not rail lines and airports. Those are things that people come to use. They don't come here to live here because of those things.
Jackie White, Fifth District, and once again, I have to echo those same sentiments, circling back to the quality of life, which I spoke about earlier, and to add to what he said, those businesses come and people are looking for those jobs. They're not going to move back to Gary if they cannot educate the children. If the schools are still deplorable in the deplorable state, people are not going to come and move and buy homes and invest tax dollars here. So again, I have those same sentiments.
William Godwin, First District. Look, number one, I want to be clear that when we bring companies here, whether it's with the Buffington Harbor Project, or whether it's TNB Tubing or Amazon or others, when we have incentives like property tax abatements, and they have not already met their higher requirement, which was the case, which was brought out at last month's City Council meeting, which is why President Brewer put that amendment on the table, the council has a responsibility to hold businesses accountable. If we live here, you live here, what are we, chopped liver? Why not ask those who are asking us for millions of dollars in property tax abatements to require their employees to live here? If they want us to give them a property tax abatement. That's just common sense. And we have to demand more and expect more and believe in ourselves more. We have to market our city. We have to make it marketable and attractive to folks. But we also have to get behind whoever's in the mayor's seat to fight with them in Indianapolis, to ensure that we don't get the kind of shenanigans that's happening right now with the move of the casino, with a $100 million fee that's being put in place, with outside interests around the county who are trying to put certain people in office who will not commit to moving the casino to 8094, by the way, in order to prevent Gary from moving forward and increasing the revenue that we all know we need in order to survive. Let's get rid of the crap and get back to basics.
I think the question was, how do we bring these people back? And while it's true that quality of life must improve, But the second part of the question was, how would I do that as a member of the council? And I think two things. One, we've got location, location, location. They can never take that away from us, ever. So we will have people move here. The couple of ordinances that I have passed, the resolution on accessibility for disabled residents and the proposed ordinance adding sexual orientation and gender identity, open up and create a more tolerant environment than the state of Indiana has currently. And that will be in our city. And that will encourage people to move here. As I've said, we do have an extreme problem with flight. I've recommended deputizing other city employees. I've also recommended that we have more frequent unsafe building hearings. The city of Hammond has them once a month. We need to do that, and we can do that. And that's what I would propose. Thank you.
Yeah, David Rodriguez, candidate for the second district. Like I mentioned, businesses will come in time. They're gonna come this year, next year. They're coming. What they see now, I'm bringing in, like I said, 2 businesses besides the nonprofit. The second one I didn't get to mention is a boxing, entertainment, timeshare. Everybody wants to come back together. We don't have these buildings, these state buildings, these homes knocked down and built. We're not going in any direction. The people in Gary, up to you guys. Like I said, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves when I right now. But the key thing is that I'm gonna roll it up and I'm gonna hit it and let you guys know, not even in second district, that's fine. I'm talking about the whole city. Everybody here, man, I commend all of them. They want to do something and put a new direction in Gary. Let's bring back Gary. Tax abatement. And that gentleman right there, you're Michael Caio, you know what that is? Same name. King David. So let's clean up Gary. Let's get rid of the garbage. Let's bring back the garbage to the citizens so they can have jobs. Let's get the water department back to Gary and give them a job. Let's put the port in, it'll be seasonal. Then they go look for jobs from December to April. We don't bring in, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
How do we retain our population, gain on our population? You're absolutely right, sir. We have a tremendous number of assets in this community. We have a lakefront. We have to develop that lakefront. We have a rail line. All right? Not many communities have multiple rail lines that run through their city. We have 94. We have 80. We have 90. We have 12 and 20. We have 57. On and on. We have major highways that run through the city. So the assets are here, undoubtedly. But then at the same time, we look at the downside. We have a bad school system. I mean, let's be truthful about it. Students are fleeing the Gary Community School System left and right. Any young homeowners, any young people, when they're looking to come into a community, one of the first things they're looking at schools, the quality of the level of schools, proximity to schools, how close the schools are to the neighborhood. Is there adequate transportation to the schools? So there are some things internally that we're going to have to work on. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have all the answers to that. But I'm going to tell you that infrastructure is important. I'm going to tell you that a greater collaboration between all the city's departments is going to take a greater partnership with the entities such as county government, with entities such as Purdue, Ivy Tech University. We have the assets. It's a matter of pulling it together.
Attorney Tracy Coleman, I'm running in the 3rd district. First of all, the way I look at things, I never focus on what I don't have, I focus on what I do have and work with that. And in the 3rd district, we have a lot of great people. And I'm a business owner in the 3rd district, and I just look at 11th Avenue. We lost Peerless Potato Chips. We lost Arts Bakery. We lost Ribs on the Run. So by us constantly focusing on the outside, we end up neglecting the inside. And as third district council person, my first priority, take care of the people who stayed. Take care of the districts who have stayed. And also, for me, my husband is a graduate of West Side, I'm a graduate of Roosevelt. We want to stay in Gary, that was our choice. I've lived in Oregon, I lived in Africa, and living in a third world country, it gave me the perspective of if you don't have an infrastructure, if you don't have a sewer system, if you have to burn your trash because you don't have garbage pickup. So the things that we have are workable. I'm very involved with the PTSA at Westside. I'm also the field service representative for the Indiana State PTA. And going to some of the meetings, there's problems in the suburbs. There's problems with drug abuse. There's problems with racial profiling. There's problems. And as I tell my son, there is no bubble that I could find to put you in. So I believe we keep working together. Look out for the people who are here. Thank you.
All right, Tracy talked about rings on the run, and she got me hungry, so we got time for one more audience question. We'll kind of do a closing statement. Ma'am, I saw you in the back right there.
Hi, my name is Cameron. I'm with an organization called Black Building Leaders Advancing Community Knowledge. We're a millennial community organization that is just about getting working in the community and building a better Gary. Two questions. One, we have spoken to several mayoral candidates and several council candidates, and I want to extend that invitation to you. We have had sit downs and just basically you guys talking to us millennials about what your plans are for Gary. I'd like to extend that invitation to you. I'm also in the first district. My second main question is, what are your plans for engaging millennial and Gen Z, basically the younger generation voters in your community?
Thank you so much, Cameron. Great question.
Thank you.
So kind of a two-part question. First of all, Cameron invites you to meet with them, to meet with Black Building Leaders, is that what it's called?
Building leaders and advancing community knowledge.
Building Leaders and Advancing Community Knowledge, thank you. But the second, larger part of the question is, what will you do to engage youth, millennials, Generation Z in the community? And I think Mr. Caldwell, right?
First of all, I think I'm the youngest person running for council. I'm 29 years old. I think I consider myself to be a millennial. Also, you guys are supposed to meet with me. You haven't met with me yet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Definitely. We definitely have to engage the millennials in this community, young people in this community. I know in the 5th district we have our demographic is an older population, especially in our midtown area. But definitely have to. There's very few things for young people in this city. For example, if you're a young person, you went off to college, and you come back home, and you want to purchase a home in Gary and contribute to your community, it's almost impossible to find something unless you come out to Miller with a bunch of money where you can buy a house out here for $200,000, $300,000, $400,000.
No.
But if you're just looking to locate in the midtown area, or you want to locate in Glen Park, it's very hard because I was that guy. I came home to Gary. I was 23 years old. I wanted to buy a home. Every place I went to, they said, "Well, we only rent it. We only rent it." I said, "Well, I would like to rent this home." They said, "Well, we only rent Section 8 because it's guaranteed money." So what did I have to do for my first 2 years coming back home? I had to live in Maryville, a home in Maryville that I was able to rent, until I was able to get my home where I currently live at in Washington Manor. So yes, we have to come up with new programs for young people. We have to, especially if you want to buy a home, if you want to start a business, we can, if you want to, educational programs, all kinds of things you can do. But right now in Gary, it's very few programs for us, very few programs. I mean, I go places, and it's almost nothing for us to do in our age group.
So you guys were supposed to reach out to me too. I haven't heard from you guys yet, but I'm waiting on your call tomorrow. In the 6th district, I would like to see, so I ran for office last year and I reached out to the Rock the Vote people. So I would like to see that platform re-engage and embrace whoever, for example, like the Nipsey Hussle of our community, who can bridge the gap between the stuffy politicians and our millennials. to, in some way, make it an interesting and fun process for you guys, because we're in this to serve the community and then pass the baton to you. So it's very important to have you guys engaged, and that's what I would do. Rock the boat, or rock the boat concert.
William Godwin, First District. I'm looking forward to my meeting as well. I think three things. Number one, I'm a millennial. At 33 years old, I bought my first house in this community when I was 23. I opened my business when I was 30. So I know many of the challenges that we face as millennials in becoming a homeowner or starting your own business. Being an entrepreneur is really cool right now, and a lot of us are doing that. Secondly, on my own campaign, I'm delighted that 4 of the 14 people on our campaign committee are millennials. And so obviously that helps me to take in those issues and concerns. And thirdly, we have to talk to each other. When I'm out on the campaign trail just the other day, I was talking to a group of young folks. They were in their early 20s, and they didn't realize I knew who they were. So it kind of freaked them out a little bit when I called them by name. And I said, "You're registered to vote, but you aren't voting." Yeah, we don't believe in voting, that's all. I can't tell you all the language they use. We're not going to do that. They were also enjoying some nice marijuana and adult at the same time. And they offered it to me. I said, "I don't want that." But I got through talking with them, and I explained how important it is that we vote. I didn't talk about Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement. I said, right now, you want better schools, you want a better job, you want your parents to be okay, you want your neighborhood to be good. They said, "Oh, that makes sense." So your vote does matter. And they agreed to go vote. So I'll be picking them up and taking them to go and early vote. So it starts by just getting into the neighborhood, talking to everybody, regardless of the assumptions you might have about people, and that makes a big difference.
Rebecca Wyatt, First District Councilwoman. I would invite you all, I have a monthly meeting, First District Community Meeting. It's the fourth Monday of every month at 6 p.m. at Marquette Park Pavilion. And I would invite you all to come to those meetings, express your concerns, and engage that way. I understood the question to be how we would engage you in the government process. And that would be one way. We have a lot of volunteer organizations in the First District. I would encourage you to reach out to any of those organizations. We have a garden club that's very active. We have a farmer's market that goes like crazy. We really, we need your input. I am not a millennial. I am one of the stuffed shirt politicians. I hope not. But I don't want to have this position forever. I want to do one more term and hand it off to someone younger. I recognize that the council is old, and we need new people. We need new people. We need new ideas. And I don't want to sit there forever. I want to do one more term, do the best I can, see the projects through that began in my first term, and then hand over the baton. Thank you.
Okay, Dave Rodriguez, Second District again, candidate. Let's say with the question she just mentioned, we've been talking about that from day, we need to get together. You guys are the ones that tell us what to do. Like I said, roll up my sleeves, and I work for you. Not just only the Second District. I'm going in the whole city of Gary. And Gary, remember, Gary is the biggest city in the state of Indiana. It's big. To be the capital. If we don't get back together as Gary residents, since I've been here in 2003, I wouldn't recommend it when they come in. I'm bringing in 3 visits. It's going to be a while. I thought about the boxing, title boxing, trained to certify. I don't have no college education. I have what I'm in now. Federal wholesale inspector, the treasurer of the Atlantic. I open up the port in Ponce, Puerto Rico, for the Puerto Rican people. I will open up this port, create job season. And then they can go get a little part-time job with a union paycheck and their, this is what I'm bringing in together. But I need you to spread the word. Let's get a new council. This young lady right here, I think I'm probably the oldest one here. But she's doing a good job. Other five should be doing a great job.
When I'm elected councilman in the second district, I want to encourage young people to get involved politically. You know, when you stop and look around this city, particularly if you look at the precinct organization, I don't know if there are any other precinct members here. They're old. They're old. That's the bottom line. Our ranks need to be refilled in the Democratic Party within this community. We need the involvement of young people. We need you all to step up to run for office, to come up, to go out to vote. It is a civic responsibility that you all have. All right? The history of any revolution that has happened in the world, for that matter, has been led by our young people. So with that being said, there is an absolute responsibility. You know, I first ran for office, and I ran for this very position back in 1999, I think it was. And I ran because I had an issue with my trash. I got out there with a friend of mine, we walked the entire district, we didn't have no money, we had about $600, but I gave the endorsement of the newspaper because of my efforts, all right? So as young people, you all have a responsibility. As an old man told me a long time ago, it's better to control the change as opposed to go into the change. Thank you.
Attorney Tracy Coleman, 3rd District. That's a very important question. First of all, in the 3rd District, I need millennials to please vote. Because there is a time warp in Gary. And power is not gonna concede anything. So if they can stay in office 20 years, 30 years, of course. And that's part of our issue here. And by me, I'm Generation X, I'm not a millennial. But I get to see the different generations. You have a generation that knows Social Security and Medicare. Then you have a generation that knew affirmative action. And by the time it got to me, Generation X, there's no affirmative action. No one's talking about Medicare or pensions. It's a whole different shift. But in Gary, we haven't shifted. And in the 3rd District, I want to make that shift. And I'm asking the elders in the 3rd District, now is the time you have to think about legacy. Yes, you came here. Yes, you owned your property. But what about the millennials? What about your grandkids that can't afford a house? And recently I went back to Indiana University because I'm working on my post-baccalaureate in accounting. Because as an attorney, I realized that people are economically depressed. It doesn't matter if you know your rights, because to get caught up in the cycle of poverty is vicious. So as 3rd District council person, I want to break that cycle. I want to make sure whether you're a millennial, Generation X, that you're a senior citizen, that you have access to that American dream. But it's important, once again, the elders, this legacy, the millennials, you have to vote, especially in the 3rd, so I can make that change.
Kendra Johnson, 4th District. When I first became an advocate, it was in the schools. I've had young people that were in school now come back to me because now they have children. And when I was a teenager, I used to say, nobody listens to teenagers. I was from the generation where kids were seen and not heard. So I promised when I became an adult, I would always listen to the young people. Scripture says, and a child shall lead them. When are we going to start listening to that? We're supposed to give back. We're supposed to reach back. We're not supposed to get a position and stay in there until we die. We're supposed to reach back, train someone else to take over. A famous person said you should have a mentor and a protege. And that's one of the things I've done in public housing. I have a young lady, she's about 25 years old. She's the vice president. In the school corporation, I'm working with 3 different parents that are old enough to be my children. and have children. That's what we're supposed to do. So whenever you all invite me, I'm willing to come, and what I might do is put some masking tape over my mouth because the purpose is to listen more so than talk.
Thank you again, Cameron. Great question. This will be the last question, as we're getting close to 7:30. The question is, what is the biggest challenge facing your community or your district, and what will you do to fix it? But if you want to use this just more generally as a closing statement to address anything that is particularly important to you in this race, please feel free to do that.
Good evening, everybody. Jackie White from the 6th District. I just want to thank you all for your presence this evening. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to wrap up. Thank you guys for hosting. Thank you for your attention. I spoke a lot about the quality of life of the children in our community. The few things that I vow to focus on if elected as councilwoman of the 6th District is to improve public safety in our community for our children, ensure that the 6th District sees its fair share of road repair dollars. As I've been going door to door, knocking and canvassing in the community, one of the things that I hear over and over again is we see road repair more in Miller than we do out here when they're out here visiting friends and family. So I vow to each and every one of those residents that they will begin to see their fair share of dollars in road repair if elected. Another thing that I would like to focus on is the abandoned schools that are left behind in Glen Park. Like, for example, Wallace is a big issue. So I would like to sit down with our community leaders, some of our residents, to get a better understanding of what demolition may look like or redevelopment options as well. And last but not least, there's some great projects that are going on in the 6th District, like revamping Howe Park. Not sure why that project is taking so long, but I definitely vow to see that through. Because if you remember earlier, I spoke to you guys and told you I have a 1-year-old son and there's not one park that I could take him to, not one swing. So thank you. And vote for Jackie White in the 6th District. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
William Godwin, 1st District. First, thanks so much for this opportunity. We have many challenges as well as opportunities in the 1st District. But I think our central challenge is managing our diversity. We are by far the most diverse district in every adverbial sense in the city. And making sure that we aren't just diverse, but inclusive of all parts of our district, of different ideas, of different concerns, that we must meet the need where people are. I'm running because I believe I'm that person and we can't wait 4 more years. Nor will I take credit for things that I have nothing to do with, like double tracking. Nor will I allow businesses to get property tax abatements and not require that they hire locally. You can get the clip and you'll see what was said for yourself. I'm running because we need fresh, focused leadership on our finances. Without the dollars in place, without the proper revenue in place, without the cost-cutting measures in place, we can wish the world of what we want, and I can make a bunch of empty promises, but nothing will happen. I'm honored that local organizations, like the Gary Democratic Precinct Organization, endorsed my campaign. I'm also honored that the Gary Firefighters Association endorsed my campaign. And those realtors, many of whom resented me because of my success in this community, chose to go another direction, but I respect them as well. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to serving as your next 1st District Councilperson.
Rebecca Wyatt, 1st District Councilwoman. I will also use this to wrap up because you all have been very patient with us. Thank you very much for coming tonight and showing your passion for the city and the first district. I do want to be reelected. I have served with integrity, responsibility, and hard work. And I look forward to the changes that are coming, but I want to be there so that I can be the voice of the first district. We need to have a check and balance. The administration is the executive branch. Remember from civics class, the legislative branch is the check and balance on the administration. My reelection will guarantee that there will be a check on the administration, whomever it is, because I believe that that's the way government should work, and it is. So I ask for your vote on May 7th and for your continued confidence and trust in me. Thank you.
Well, I'm gonna repeat everything I said at the beginning. I'm gonna clean up Gary, like I said, even if like, so at 6 p.m. on that day, they would tell me if I'm a winner or whether the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Now, I am the winner. I'm here to open up the eyes of the voter and every citizen in Gary. I care about it. I'd rather live in Gary than in Chicago. People look at me and say, what's wrong with you? Well, I love Gary now. I've been here since 2003. But the only thing that disturbs me is the building, the businesses, and our children walk through. That young man I see right there in the red shirt, he needs a baseball field and a basketball court. Later. I only see that in the first district. I go around Gary, I see destruction in every other district, even in mine. I remember, we're going to bring back the little World Series. Puerto Rican Parade is coming July 20th and 21st. We'll give you my website. And every woman there is going to dance and learn how to do bachata. Now, the men, you're on your own. You can watch and take a class. It's free. That's why I'm here. This is the first opportunity now to have a Puerto Rican parade. I had it last year. It brought a little bit of attention to the Commonwealth.
Thank you. I'm asking for your vote. Second District City Councilman Cozy Weatherspoon. I am prepared to lead. The reality is, it takes total cooperation when you sit on that city council. It takes 5 votes. You can't do it by yourself. But I'm going in with the attitude that through the spirit of cooperation, through the spirit of common sense, we'll be able to get things done. When I'm elected, I will advocate again for the creation of that infrastructure master plan for our street beautification, for our city beautification, for our park maintenance. We have to have that. That enhances every aspect of our city. I will advocate for an increased removal of uninhabitable structures, primarily in the second district, as that is the district I will lead. I will provide better oversight of the city's finances and make sound budgeting decisions. I will advocate for an increased code enforcement presence for both residential and commercial property. I will also, and this is a pet peeve of mine, I will also advocate for a better response to our 311, which is nothing more than a database. If you don't increase demand hours, you can't get the work done. But at the same time, with that 311 system, how many of you all hate it when you make a phone call, a customer service, and dealing with, talking with a doggone machine? You like that response, you like that personal touch. Even if there's nothing more than a call back saying that. Vote for Cozy Weatherspoon, second district. Thank you.
Tracy Coleman, Attorney Coleman, third district. My focus is third district will be for a safe third district, a clean third district, and a prosperous third district. One of the things I'm asking people to do in the third district is to vote for change. The third district has went from 20 precincts to 8 precincts. So it's in steady decline with losing population. It's one of the oldest areas in here. But if you're stagnated, where you don't let anything new in, if I have a pond, no fresh ideas or water gets in here, the life in that pond is gonna die. And so what I believe the challenge is for the third district, you need new leadership. Because we see communities around us, they're evolving, they're prosperous, but part of it is the pen. If you don't write it down, you can't fund it, you can't see it. And like I said, I'm not afraid of hard work. A 10-year plan. How do I get more businesses here? How do I get more home ownership? Because if we don't have leaders sitting on that council in the third district that recognize that I'm serving the people, and I want your quality of life to be so great at the end of my 4-year term that that's what I'm gonna think about when I go to bed and when I wake up. And so my goal as third district council person is that everybody come up together. We're in America. And that's where living in a third world country, you have people, I want to get to America. So the third district, if we could give 28 million to Marquette, we need leadership too, to say, hey, we got Tolleson Park, we got parks in Black Oak. And so that would be my goal as third district, to make sure that the third district is prosperous and we focus on keeping it safe, clean, and the people prosperous.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. What's the biggest challenge facing your district or your community? And what we do to fix it, or you can just kind of use it as an opportunity to wrap up.
Kendra Johnson, 4th District. One of the biggest challenges in my district and in the city of Gary is mindset. If you cannot convince people to believe in something, they're not going to invest in it. Whether it's education, whether it's employment, whether it's the image of the city, you have to start with mindset. I know. After my home was firebombed and I was trying to get a home, I went down to a meeting, and that was during Scott King's administration. That's what he said. We're trying to improve the image. And I said, one of the things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to convince the people that live here in the city to invest in the city and to believe in what you all are trying to get done. So that's my biggest thing, along with public safety. You know, we got potholes. We got traffic lights that don't work. I mean, who do we hold accountable? Firefighters. I went to a Black Oak Fire Station with one of their largest. And guess what? There were potholes right outside of at the road where the fire department had to come out of. So that means they had to slow down, deal with the pothole, just not to mess up the truck that they had just got, and then race off to the fire. That's unacceptable. But if we all come together, we all work together. I'm crazy enough to contact some of these celebrities and ask them for money. What they say.
Good call, in this district. I failed to mention I was endorsed by the Gary Firefighters Association, Local 359. I hope to be endorsed by my fellow millennials here soon. Like I said, I was detective with Lake County Sheriff's Department, been in law enforcement for almost 10 years. Safety is the major thing, especially in the 5th district. When I was doing community engagement, I sat on the CompStat committee for crime stat tracking. We saw the 5th district, one of the most crime-rated districts in the city, specifically the area from 25th Avenue or 24th Avenue up to 43rd Avenue, Glen Park in Midtown. My priority in my district is to improve the quality of life, of course, by reducing crime. Also, we are a very diverse district. People fail to realize that we have Black Oak, which is part of our district, predominantly Caucasian and Hispanic community. Then we have Glen Park, University Park, and we have Midtown, which is Midtown's an Asian community. In Midtown, under the Scott King administration, large plots of many structures were demolished. A lot of the structures demolished. In fact, if you ride through my district, you'll see that there are several blocks where there are absolutely no homes at all. Land owned by the city, land hoarding. I hope at the next council meeting that this proposal for tax abatement for people, to attract people to build homes goes through, and I would like to see millennials be able to get some assistance from the city to build homes in the 5th district. We got the land. If you go up the whole 2300 block, 2400 block of Jefferson, it's empty, vacant land.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. That's it. So thank you all. Here's the Lucian, timekeeper. And for everybody that showed up here today, we have municipal elections coming up. It's a testament to your commitment to the community that everybody came. So thank you for taking the time out. Even thank you to
Hey, everybody, can we give a round of applause? That was really good. Shout out to our interstate police investigators. If you've ever been to the Woodville events, they're always awesome. Please RSP by 24th. If you are interested in the Lake County Young Guests, we are always season members. Membership is only $10 a year. If for any reason you cannot afford that, we will find you a sponsor. On top of that, if you were interested in a board position, ages 16 to 35, we're looking for you because I'm 38.
Are they gonna just throw these away or?
I'm taking Rebecca's.
Okay,
Yeah, we're taking all.
okay. I don't want to see them throw them out.
Yeah, no, the rest of them, I would hope they would have people to pick them up. Thank you.
Well, what do you think?
Bringing the community together. Yeah.